Thank you, Count Corlin. I'm delighted to be here today to speak to the initiative that Niall Muldoon, the Ombudsman for Children, has been progressing over the last number of weeks. It's a timely debate as we seek the impact, as we see the impact of our vaccination programme on the levels of COVID-19 in the community, and we see the return of children, young people, and young adults to schools and further education campuses across the country. And the well-being of children should be a central priority for every government, but for this government, that need is acute as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm here today to speak to the work being progressed, not only by my department, but by the Department of Social Protection in relation to tackling child poverty, the Department of Housing in relation to child homelessness, the Department of Education in relation to the education of those children from disadvantaged backgrounds, and of course then the wider how this ties in with the proposal from the Ombudsman. As we all recognise, growing up in a marginalised and disadvantaged community, experiencing intergenerational cycles of poverty, educational disadvantage and unemployment seriously hinder a child or young person's opportunities in life. Our approach to these well-known risk factors needs to become sharper and more systematic, focusing on addressing core characteristics around entrenched child poverty. The prerequisite for these next steps is a renewed and strengthened cross-government focus on children and young people, and to continue to make progress in reducing child poverty further with the objective of meeting our ambitious targets. We need to continue our efforts to address the child poverty agenda, building on progress to date and taking full account of the opportunities provided by the EU to resource innovative responses. As you know, the Better Outcomes, Brighter Futures policy framework included a commitment to lift 70,000 children out of consistent poverty by 2020. To date, considerable work has been carried out to target the needs of children in this cohort, involving a cross-governmental and collaborative approach with the NGO sector and working with the Department of Social Protection and other relevant government departments and agencies. Progress has been made with a 4.6% drop in the child poverty rate between 2014 and 2019, at which point 88.1% of children were still living in consistent poverty. Clearly, and let there be no doubt as to the government's position on this, much more needs to be achieved. So we must redouble and refocus our efforts if we are to reduce child poverty further, particularly in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Critically, we need to look at enhancing policy coherence and improving integrated service provision in tandem with the measures introduced by government in the last 5 budgets. The full impact of the pandemic on the economy is yet to be understood, but it is clear that we need to mitigate its effects on children and young people in particular. It goes without saying that child poverty and our efforts to eradicate disadvantage for the most vulnerable will remain as a top priority for the successor national policy framework for children and young people. The proposal put forward by the Ombudsman for Children is important. In coming through the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic, there now represents the opportunity to explore what a better normal could and should be for children and young people. This allows us to open a broader conversation on the issues, experiences and impact that were brought into even sharper relief during the pandemic. I believe it also demands of us a redoubling of efforts to ensure that our focus is firmly targeted on many of the key enduring challenges facing children and young people. These issues and our responses to such challenges will inform our approach to the very important next steps: Ireland's implementation of the EU Child Guarantee to address child poverty, and the development of a new national policy framework for children and young people as a successor to Better Outcomes, Brighter Futures. The EU Child Guarantee provides Ireland with a real opportunity to refocus and, where necessary, re-evaluate our approach in tackling child poverty and promoting children's well-being. The objective of the guarantee is to prevent and combat social exclusion by guaranteeing access for children who are in need of a range of key services. It calls on Member States to guarantee for children in need free access to early childhood education and care, education, including school-based activities, and healthcare, and to ensure effective access to healthy nutrition, a healthy meal each day, each school day, and adequate housing. The guarantee seeks to promote equal opportunities for children at risk of poverty or social exclusion and to break cycles of intergenerational disadvantage. In 2020, some 18 million children in the EU lived in households at risk of poverty or social exclusion. The plan suggests a target for the EU to reduce the number of people at risk of poverty or social inclusion by at least 15 million by 2030, of which at least 5 million would be children. The EU Child Guarantee offers countries guidance on integrated strategies to tackle child poverty and promote children's well-being. It goes beyond welfare and labour market policies in order to promote access to quality services and the active participation of children themselves. It further highlights the importance of EU cohesion policy in mobilising reform. The text of the recommendation for an EU Child Guarantee was agreed and adopted by the Council on the 14th of June, and Ireland played an active role in the drafting of the text and the related discussions. Member State governments will submit to the Commission a national action plan on how the Child Guarantee is to be progressed by mid-March 2022. Another key part of the Child Guarantee will be development of an enabling policy framework to deliver on milestones set out in the national action plan. The children and young people's NGO sector will play an important part in advancing and implementing Ireland's action plan under the EU Child Guarantee, and I look forward to this fruitful and progressive collaboration. There is no doubt that children and young people in our society are facing historic adversity as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and public health measures. I note the findings of the Growing Up in Ireland special COVID-19 survey, which showed numerous difficulties for children across age cohorts. More than half of all 12-year-olds and 22-year-old students reported difficulty with remote learning. Those from low-income families without a quiet place to study or adequate internet were the worst affected. Those from low-income households were also more likely to live with someone vulnerable to severe symptoms of COVID-19, and they also reported spending less time outdoors and missed organised cultural events and sports. As a government, we are committed to mitigating and addressing these problems in a coordinated way. Better Outcomes, Brighter Futures, the national policy framework for children and young people, continues to inform our approach to developing policy for children and young people, offering a positive, inclusive vision for the future of our country. This framework was developed to help all of government make a difference to children and young people's lives. The significant majority of commitments made by government under this strategy have now been delivered. As of 2019, almost 70% of commitments are now complete across government, with more in progress in relation to housing. In particular, 5 of 6 commitments are completed or in progress. The Department of Social Protection works to alleviate and prevent child poverty by providing a number of income supports for families. Budgets over the past number of years have introduced a number of measures that have and will continue to have a direct and positive impact on children in poverty, on poverty generally and particularly on child poverty. The Irish social transfer system is consistently one of the most effective systems at reducing poverty across the EU. The roadmap of social inclusion is the National Poverty Reduction and Social Inclusion Strategy and includes the goal of reducing child poverty in Ireland and ensuring all families have the opportunity to participate fully in society. The roadmap includes a specific commitment to continue to target a reduction in poverty among children and families on low incomes as part of the annual budget process, along with commitments regarding the establishment of monitoring of new child poverty targets at national and EU level. Feedback from the Child Poverty Workshop at the 2021 Social Inclusion Forum noted that the new child poverty target requires whole-of-government support, that the new target should be that no child is in poverty, and adequate poverty-proofing measures, and that income adequacy should be ensured with increased targeted social welfare supports to prevent families entering poverty. Work on the development of a new national child poverty target is in the initial stages and will be developed in the context of the new EU Child Guarantee and the headline poverty target for the action plan for the European Pillar of Social Rights. The Schools Meals Programme provides funding towards the provision of food for over 1,500 schools and organisations benefiting 230,000 children. The objective is to provide regular, nutritious food to children who are unable, due to lack of good quality food, to take full advantage of the education that's provided for them. The programme is an important component of policies to encourage school attendance and extra educational achievement. A budget of €65.1 million has been provided for the scheme in 2021 and the programme will continue in 2022. I saw the impact of the additional investment myself on Monday in a new kitchen facility in Ladyswell National School in my own constituency. My department is also addressing the impact of child poverty through a focus on prevention and early intervention. Prevention and early intervention means anticipating possible problems, minimising risks as they arise, and targeting resources at those at high risk or showing early signs of a problem. Since the publication of Better Outcomes, Brighter Futures in 2014, my department has pursued a coordinated approach to championing prevention and early intervention, which addresses the needs of those suffering the greatest disadvantage. My department supports the Prevention, Partnership and Family Support, or PPFS programme in Tusla. The aim of the PPFS programme is to prevent risks to children and young people arising or escalating through building sustainable capacity and manpower within Tusla and partner organisations to perform early intervention work. As part of the PPFS programme, TUSA also operates the ABC programme, a targeted funding measure aimed at addressing the impacts of child poverty in 12 areas of disadvantage across Ireland. This funding measure is designed to mitigate the impact of poverty and improve outcomes for children, young people and their families across disadvantaged areas through the PPFS implementation structures, including CIPSEs, family resource centres and child and family support networks. The ABC programme is now fully integrated into TUSLA as part of the PPSF and delivered as part of TUSLA's core budget. By integrating it into the wider TUSLA infrastructure, my department has ensured that the TUSLA ABC programme is linked in to the wider range of measures and responses to addressing child poverty. However, I also recognise that these initiatives alone do not meet the needs of children, young people and their families experiencing poverty and disadvantage in our society. As a result, my department designed the What Works initiative with funding from dormant accounts to harness our investment in areas of prevention and early intervention. What Works is regarded internationally as a very innovative initiative led by government. It takes a coordinated approach to mainstreaming prevention and early intervention and provides investment in this sector to maximise its impact on children, young people and families suffering disadvantage. Recently, I announced that over €1 million will be allocated to children's services in 2021 alone through the What Works initiative. This funds initiatives such as the What Works Training Fund, which is designed to support non-profit, community and voluntary organisations who are a member of a child and family support network who provide direct services to children, young people and families in areas of disadvantage to meet their training needs. Or another example, ARC, Live from the ARC, funded through Rethink Ireland Children and Youth Digital Solutions Fund, which is aimed at delivering creative workshops and downloadable activity packs to DEIS schools nationwide, reaching children who might otherwise not have access to this particular resource. In terms of addressing the issue of child homelessness post-COVID, Housing for All, a new housing plan for Ireland, is the government's housing plan to 2030 and was launched recently. It's a multi-annual, multi-billion euro plan which will improve Ireland's housing system and deliver more homes of all types for people with different housing needs. It contains a comprehensive strategic approach to tackling homelessness. An important aspect of this plan is supporting families and children experiencing homelessness, which is a priority for this government. Family homelessness has seen an appreciable reduction since 2019, but still remains a key challenge. The overriding objective is to provide homes to those households at risk of or experiencing homelessness through the various social housing supports available. Housing for All commits the government to working towards eradicating homelessness by 2030. This commitment applies to children and families, as well as all those who are homeless. Budget 2021 makes provision for €218 million funding for homelessness services. This funding in 2021 reflects the priority the government is giving to the issue of homelessness. This funding ensures that local authorities can continue to provide emergency accommodation and other essential support services to households experiencing homelessness, while also ensuring that pathways out of homelessness for those households in emergency accommodation are secured as quickly as possible. For those experiencing homelessness, this additional funding supports the development and operation of increased numbers of family hubs and other supported facilities for single individuals to ensure that sufficient shelter is available for everyone who requires it. It's important to bear in mind that a hub is not a home, and our fundamental objective remains to provide homes for the families concerned. But these new facilities provide more security and stability for homeless families than is possible in hotel accommodation. Ultimately, though, the priority must be to exit families and children from emergency accommodation as quickly as possible. As we are all aware, tackling child and family homelessness requires an interagency approach. Housing for All commits to the ongoing enhancement of family supports and prevention and early intervention services for children and their families through a multi-agency and coordinated response. Housing for All commits the government to establish a new National Homelessness Action Committee. This will be a cross-governmental and inter-agency oversight group to ensure better coherence and coordination of homeless-related services in delivering policy measures and actions. The work of the group will be informed by Housing for All and will oversee the implementation of the inter-agency elements. In 2020, the Minister for Housing, Local Government and Heritage, Darragh O'Brien, established a high-level homelessness task force to provide a forum for engagement with key organisations working to address homelessness. The task force is also inputting on the implementation of the commitments on homelessness in Housing for All. The membership of the task force consists of the Chief Executive of the Dublin Regional Homelessness Executive, Crosscare, DePaul, Focus Ireland, the Peter McVerry Trust, Dublin Simon Community and Threshold, as well as the Society of St Vincent de Paul. Homelessness among young people is a core concern of the task force, and it was addressed at task force meetings, most recently on the 26th of July and the 1st of September of this year. So in conclusion, I want to thank the Office of the Ombudsman for Children for this initiative. I look forward to hearing of the views of deputies, which I will take on board when I meet with the Ombudsman on this initiative in the coming weeks. Thank you.